Okay, we need to have a serious chat about the iPhone Air. You remember the iPhone Air, right? The super thin, super sleek device that was supposed to revolutionize smartphone design? The one that cost nearly $1,000 and had one camera, yeah, that one. Well, there's a new leak circulating from Weibo claiming the sequel, the iPhone Air 2, is coming right on schedule in autumn 2026. But honestly, I'm not buying it. Not for a second. Why? Because there is a mountain of evidence suggesting Apple is scrambling behind the scenes. More credible reports are pointing to a delay until spring 2027. And frankly, that delay makes way more sense. You don't rush a sequel when the original kind of flopped. Let's be real here. The first iPhone Air didn't exactly set the world on fire. It was a bit like a supermodel, gorgeous to look at, incredibly thin, but maybe not the most practical thing to live with every day. And apparently, Apple knows this. According to a juicy new report from the Information, Apple is quietly admitting that the first Air had somewhat of an identity crisis. It was stuck in this weird limbo, too expensive to be a casual phone, but too compromised to be a pro phone. It was the middle child that nobody quite knew what to do with. So, what is the plan for the Air 2? Two big changes. First up, the camera. The original Air had a single lens on the back. A single lens. In 2025. I mean, come on. Even budget Android phones have 3 cameras these days just for fun. When you pay $1,000, flipping your phone over and seeing one lonely lens just feels wrong. It feels like you got shortchanged at the vending machine. The report says Apple is looking to add a second camera, likely an ultra-wide lens. Finally, this shouldn't be a luxury feature anymore. It is basic iPhone vocabulary. It makes the phone feel complete. But here's the problem. Physics is annoying. The iPhone Air is aggressively thin. Like, scary thin. Adding a second camera module without making the phone thicker is an engineering nightmare. They have to redesign the entire internal layout, rethink the thermal management, and probably sacrifice a goat to the gods of engineering just to make it fit. This isn't a quick fix, hence the delay to 2027. The second big change? The price. Currently, the Air sits at $999. Do you know what else costs $1,000? The iPhone 17 Pro. And let me tell you, if I'm standing in the Apple store holding a Pro with 3 cameras and a huge battery in one hand, and a thin Air with 1 camera in the other, well, it's not a hard choice. Most people just buy the Pro and never look back. Or they look at the standard iPhone 17, which is hundreds of dollars cheaper and, frankly, excellent value. So the Air was getting crushed from both sides. Apple is reportedly considering lowering the price for the Air 2. And that is the biggest admission of guilt you will ever see from Apple. They never lower prices unless they have to. If they drop it to maybe $849 or $899, suddenly the math changes. It becomes a stylish alternative to the base model rather than a compromised version of the Pro. And let's look at the data, because numbers don't lie. Reports say production for the current Air has been slashed. Foxconn has dismantled almost all of its assembly lines for it. 1.5 lines remain active. 1.5. That is basically a skeleton crew keeping the lights on. It's a polite way of saying, yeah, we made enough of these already. It's frustrating because the Air replaced the Plus model. The Plus was boring, sure. It was the minivan of iPhones. Reliable, big battery, sensible price. But people didn't buy it because it wasn't exciting. The Mini died because of battery life. The Plus died because of boredom. And now the Air is struggling because of value. Apple just can't seem to figure out what to do with this 4th slot in the lineup. But here is my take. Spring 2027 could save the Air. By moving the release away from the Pro models in autumn, the Air gets its own spotlight. It stops being compared directly to the beastly Pro phones on launch day. It gets breathing room. Imagine a spring launch where the Air 2 is positioned as the cool, fashion-forward phone for the summer. It has 2 cameras, it's cheaper, and it's still impossibly thin. That sounds like a winner. However, there is still the elephant in the room, the foldable iPhone. With a foldable rumored to be coming, does Apple really need a thin candy bar phone? Maybe, maybe not. But if the Air 2 can fix the camera and the price, It might just carve out a nice little niche for itself. It won't be a blockbuster, but it could be a solid, stable part of the family. So, don't believe the Weibo leaks saying it's coming this year. Apple needs time to cook this one properly. And honestly, I would rather wait for a good phone than rush into another expensive mistake. What do you think? Would you buy a cheaper, dual-camera iPhone Air 2? Or are you just waiting for the foldable? Let me know in the comments below. And hey, if you want to keep up with all this Apple chaos, hit that subscribe button. It helps us out a ton. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.